Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Between Two Bots. Today, I have with me Chief Digital Officer of Cenlar. If you have a loan, a mortgage, it is very likely that somebody from Cenlar is helping you figure out your payment processing and helping you service that loan. Josh, would you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Josh Reicher, the Chief Digital Officer at Cenlar.
Perfect. And I am your host, Ahmed Zaidi. I'm the Chief Executive Officer, but I like to take the title Chief Automation Officer here at Accelerate. Josh, I have a quick, very serious question for you. It's been 2 years since GPT came out. You have your subscriptions. Your CTO and CIO tell me you have all the infrastructure. Why haven't you replaced half your customer service reps and developers, especially all the lawyers? Agents are doing all that work. Explain yourself.
Well, they know where I live, so that would be a challenge. No.
There you go. Well, that was somewhat in jest, but I think that's an interesting, valid question that a lot of I assume the business folks are asking you. And hey, listen, we're seeing all these multi-billion-dollar deals, and people are saying they're building three-person unicorns, and while we're sitting here trying to figure out what to do. But before I do that, I usually start these things with defining agentic AI. We look at it at Accelerate, uh, agents that can ingest data, remember decisions, perform a task based on instructions and tools provided. What is the common sort of understanding of agents and agentic AI in your organization? It's always interesting to hear that perspective from different organizations.
Sure. Well, we're just starting our journey into agentic AI. We've had a very successful path so far through generative AI and some more, less modern version of AI, such as machine learning, et cetera. But what we're finding with agentic AI, especially relevant in our space, where consistently looking for ways of decreasing our operating risk, of improving our effectiveness, is through automation. Right? As a service, generally we perform operational services. Automation helps us to be better. And agentic AI is really the next logical step in that path, the next tool in the tool belt to be able to automate the unautomatable, to really empower, the humans within our organization, right? And it's not to remove them from the org, it's actually to elevate them into a spot where they can oversee these agents, that they can make sure that the agents are operating correctly and can train them to be better.
Got it. Um, how do you deal with I've seen this with the business all the time, like how do you deal with, because most of the from the non-technical side of the house, the experience with generative AI in our personal lives is either I'm going to use it to generate videos, I'm going to use it to, my friend does not use search engines anymore. He just has a ChatGPT subscription. He asks it something, and responds with something. So it's a very interactive sort of interface and an interactive mode of use. Um,
Mhm.
Seems like, you know 2010 all over again, or maybe even before. Chatbots. We're going to have chatbots that are going to do everything, and we're sort of kind of back here again in 2025. How do you deal with the confusion between agents that can actually do something in the background versus a chatbot? Or you say, hey, listen, Josh, you did this chatbot a while ago. How is this different?
Yeah, it's the difference between scripting and intelligent automation, right? When you look at a chatbot, when you look at traditional robotic process automation, this is a script, and you're telling it how to emulate a process, but that process has to be very well defined in advance. Where with agentic AI, there's less of the definition and more the ideation. It's more of what do you want it to do, not how do you need it to do it. So it significantly decreases the time to market, right? Which is really important to us. We have to not always be innovating. We also have to constantly be executing. And agentic AI, it's more nimble, more flexible, more able to meet our needs without having to be so prescriptive on what that next step is.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about the topic that we've advertised. That's why a lot of people will be listening to this. You're in a regulated industry, a very regulated industry. We know that the mortgage industry and the banking industry as a whole is a fairly strictly strict oversight over operations and all sorts of other things. What are the specific challenges you're seeing in adopting this technology? I mean, it was tough enough to say, hey, listen, we're going to make a loan decision based on machine learning models. And then somebody came up and said, hey, listen, you got to explain this. Give me all the factors that went into it. What was the decision tree?
Yeah.
And now we're going into other decisions being made by an LLM, which probably has some other challenges. What are the regulators asking you for? What are the challenges inside the organization? Then we should go into what the regulators are asking for.
So it's interesting. You would think that the regulators would be the biggest challenge, but they're not. Our regulators are one of our best partners out there. We have been, we've been in a regulated environment for a very long time. So making sure that we do things safely and securely and in line with the vision of our regulators is something that came from at the point of ideation, right? Before we even started talking about implementing the technology, we were sitting with our regulators talking about what it is we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. How do we make sure that the OCC is going to be comfortable, that CFPB is going to be comfortable? What are the key things that are important to them? And we built that into our strategy up front. So I would say the key challenge, of course, is when you're not in a regulated industry, you can take more risk, you can typically execute faster, but if you plan ahead and you build the right partnerships and you're transparent with what you're trying to do, and obviously you build in the right governance up front, the rights, not only the technical infrastructure, but the governance infrastructure, the policies, the risks and controls, the communication, that it tends to be less of a challenge. It does include the overhead necessary to do all that, but I think we all should have that level of overhead when we're introducing this type of new innovative technology.
That makes sense. That makes sense. What type of things are they asking you for? What are they asking you to prove? Is there, tell some of our audiences what are the type of things that they're concerned with, the regulators.
Fair. Is some things, obviously, some things I'll share, some things I can't. But the things that are, should be pretty obvious is transparency is really, really big, right? Showing them everything that we do, our successes, our failures, our controls, asking for feedback, asking for input in advance. This is where our regulators, are the GSEs, our clients. They want to know that they're kind of part of the journey, that their concerns, their thoughts, their ideas are making its way into our strategy, and we're very intensely focused on making sure that happens. So yeah, transparency is a big one. Safety and soundness of the data of our clients' data, of the homeowners' data, of the homeowner experience. CFPB is very big on the homeowner experience and making sure that AI is not necessarily misrepresenting or confusing. So we cover all of the above, and we make sure, like I said, that we insert that into our strategy before we even get started.
That makes a lot of sense. From a business standpoint, what's the mood? What's the excitement? Give it to me now. Hang on a second. I need to figure out how this thing works. Or is it a mixed bag?
It was, I mean, if you had asked me that about a year, maybe 2 years ago, it would have been a mixed bag. AI was a little bit newer, a little bit scarier. The less people were playing with ChatGPT or seeing it at the top of Google or what have you. So there was less understanding of where it is safe, where it might potentially isn't safe. And obviously some of those fears are still there, but with all the transparency, people are more educated now. Within our company in particular, no, and it's not a shameless plug. It's actually a really good thing. Is that we have a business, a new chief operating officer. Her name is Leslie, very supportive, and her organization is very supportive of new technology and bringing it out there. She's better at speaking about this than I am. And with that, we've been able to do some really transformational stuff at Cenlar, and we continue to do transformational stuff at Cenlar as a result of a lot of those changes.
That's awesome. In your view, when does this become generative AI and agents? And when I say this, what's your timeline to say, okay, this just becomes another? RPA was a new thing a few years ago. Then it just became another tool. Hey, when we're looking at solution profiles, we could do it this way. We could do it this way. We should do it. We can do it this way. When do you think AI agents become just another sort of solution profile in your tech stack? 3 to 6 months, drawn out
Yeah.
12 to 18 months, widespread adoption. What's your gut and forecast?
For us, it's going to be in the 3 to 6 month range for sure. We already have our first agents underway right now. The underlying technology we've had in place for a long time, which makes it much easier. We've been very big on driving kind of baseline technology requirements up front. So when we get to this next step of introducing, say, agentic AI, is that we have the building blocks necessary for quick time to market. So we're already starting to build out those agents and kind of put them in an orchestration of agents to be able to deliver more modern automations into the company.
That's awesome. That's very cool. In closing, your advice to folks in regulated industries that haven't started, I assume most have, but uh, scars, what should they do? What should they avoid? Just a couple of bullet points.
Yeah. The very first thing to start with is a governance framework. Before you even start coming up with what it is that you want to automate, understand how you want AI to be in your company. Do you want everyone to have access to it? And if so, how are you going to do that safely? If you start off with that idea of how are we going to implement this and implement this correctly and safely, and if you're in heavily regulated, talk to the regulators and get their feedback as well. If you build that into your strategy up front, you're going to face less scrutiny and more partnership as you get deeper into execution.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Josh. I really appreciate it. It was great speaking to you today. I'm sure this will be very helpful to our audience. Thank you so much.